Rocky the Raccoon and Tiny Tony the Ant. Once upon a time, in a bustling forest full of towering trees and hidden critters, there lived a very smart raccoon named Rocky. Rocky wasn't just your average raccoon who dug through trash cans. No, he had invented things. Little gadgets and gizmos, like a tree-climbing machine and a nut-cracking robot. One day, while Rocky was tinkering with his latest invention, the super squirrel launcher, he heard the tiniest voice shout, "Hey, watch where you're stepping." Rocky looked down and squinted. There, standing on a rock, was an ant wearing the smallest pair of glasses Rocky had ever seen. "Whoa! Sorry about that. Didn't see you there." "Who are you?" asked Rocky. The ant puffed out his tiny chest. "I'm Tiny Tony, the smartest ant in the colony. And you're messing up my research." "Research?" Rocky asked, curious. "What kind of research does an ant do?" Tiny Tony adjusted his glasses. "I'm working on a new formula for super strength honeydew. But your squirrel launcher nearly knocked over my entire laboratory." Rocky peered closer. Sure enough, next to the rock was a tiny setup of beakers, test tubes, and what looked like a miniature volcano. The ant was definitely onto something big, or at least something that could create a mess. "Super strength honeydew, huh?" Rocky said, scratching his chin. "That's interesting. I like a good snack. But what's with the volcano?" Tiny Tony beamed with pride. "Oh, that? It's a side project. I call it Mount Boom Boom. It's a self-destruct device in case my formula falls into the wrong hands, like the evil wasps." Rocky chuckled. "You sure you're not a mad scientist, Tiny Tony?" "Mad? I prefer passionately dedicated." Tony replied with a wink. "Well, Tony," Rocky said, grinning, "how about we team up? I've got gadgets and brains. You've got honeydew and a volcano. Together, we could take over the world." Tony interrupted. I was going to say forest, but sure, let's start small." And so, the unlikely duo teamed up. Rocky helped Tony tweak his honeydew formula, and Tony gave Rocky some pointers on his gadgets. It turned out that the key to stopping squirrels from stealing snacks was, well, more snacks. The squirrels were bribed with Tiny Tony's super strength honeydew, and they never bothered Rocky again. As for Mount Boom Boom, it turned out to be a bit too effective. One day, while Rocky was trying to move the tiny volcano to a safer spot, it went off, sending a small puff of smoke into the air. The explosion was so tiny that only ants could hear it, but it knocked Tony's glasses askew. "Well, that was anticlimactic," Tony said, brushing himself off. Rocky laughed. "You know what? I think we make a pretty good team, Tony. How about we invent something less explosive next time?" Tiny Tony nodded. "Agreed. How do you feel about a flying squirrel catching drone?" Rocky's eyes lit up. "Now that's an idea." And from that day on, Rocky the Raccoon and Tiny Tony the Ant became the most famous inventor duo in the forest. They didn't take over the world, but they did invent the first ever forest-wide pizza delivery system, which made everyone, including the squirrels, very, very happy. The end.